AI is going to change the way we see our lives every day. Because of transport, we could have goods moved much quicker. That created a large impact in terms of the industrial growth. Internet kind of like also did that. And in AI, it's obviously going to have much more bigger impact than that, because it's going to like 100x all the innovations that we've done till now.
Ram Kumar, the core contributor at OpenLedger.
The next-gen blockchain network for AI, providing decentralized economic infrastructure
To source, fine-tune, and launch specialized AI models.
What is OpenLedger?
OpenLedger lets you create specialized AI models that can enable people to solve the problems that are specialized for a particular need.
Why do you say that AI is way bigger than the internet?
AI provides me to process things much better. If I ask a question to ChatGPT, it's going to give me information, but it's also going to help me make decisions as well. Everyone needs to own a piece of that.
Hey, When Shift Happens family. Welcome to Drops, a podcast series where we showcase smaller, rising star projects in the crypto space. Since When Shift Happens started to take off, we've received hundreds of requests from many great projects every month that we had to say no to because they weren't a good fit yet in terms of size and impact. But this has now changed with the Drops podcast series. We're building When Shift Happens, the most credible platform in crypto. And there is no reason why smaller projects with big potential shouldn't have a chance to be here. Drops is not a research service nor an endorsement, but a way to give a voice to the potential big crypto founders of tomorrow.
I think a good way to start is because it's very real, right?
Yeah.
You're not at your best today.
Yes, not so great.
You're showing up no matter what, right? You were telling me that you travel a lot.
Yeah.
Because you're between India, Dubai, San Francisco.
Between San Francisco and India, Dubai obviously is always something other that happens there. So I try to take some stops there, but majorly between San Francisco and India. So been spending time in SF over the last 1 to 2 years time because of AI and also the research that we've been doing there. And so would like to spend more time over there. You see a lot of builders who are like really passionate about AI, who want to solve something massive. Or it could be something small also, but it's really significant for them. So it's good to see that, right? It's just good to be around the people who are in the same mindset as you are. That's what I love about San Francisco. And we do have like a small team over there in SF and in Stanford as well, because we work on a research which is basically around how data is used in models, especially the ones that we're working on, which is like the fine-tuned layer. So it's just being there helps, and being there is just, it's good to just meet the people in person and work. I'm more of a person who's needs to talk to the guy in person, sit with him, and then figure out what needs to be done. Same goes with my co-founder as well. So we've always preferred that. So that's why spending more time over there makes sense for us.
But it's pretty brutal. The plane, the jet lag.
It is. So it's a 21 hours flight.
And probably what you have like 14, 15 hours time difference.
Yeah. So it's like totally opposite of the day.
Yeah.
So it could be brutal sometimes. Yes.
I had a conversation with Jensen from Virtuals.
Yeah.
And he was saying the same. They're based in Malaysia, not in India, but they're saying, man, I just realized I need to spend way more time in the US and in Silicon Valley.
Yes.
I mean, he was saying New York for builders, Silicon Valley for AI.
Yeah.
Because it's happening there.
Yes, absolutely. I think Silicon Valley is more like research and more hardcore AI product side, and New York is more like Web3 AI, right? So it really comes down to like what kind of project you are, like who is your target audience, who are your partners. I try to spend more time in SF because we are in the building stage, and now we are probably will evolve more as we are getting to mainnet, and maybe spend time more in New York as well.
Who are you?
Who am I? I don't know. I think this podcast will probably reveal that. So
He's ready to open up. Amazing.
I'll probably let you. I think I've spoken to you before. We've had conversations about who am I. I really had like the conversations that we had. So
but the people want to know.
Drink coffee. Yeah. No. I'm Ram. I'm one of the core contributors at OpenLedger. So I've been in the space from 2017. I got in this space because a very similar story to a lot of people. the first introduction to the space is always Bitcoin. For me, it's the same. Someone paid us in Bitcoin, to me and my other co-founder. We just realized.
Paid you?
Yeah, they paid us. Yeah, because we were running a tech business, and we had people paying us across the globe. And this guy decided to pay us in Bitcoin because PayPal was not working. And once we did get paid, it was quite interesting. We saw the technology behind that. We thought this is amazing, but not many developers in the space. Why don't we build sort of like an R&D firm around this, right? Started as a fun, probably like a 10-member team, and grew massively. We grew to about 200 plus employees.
200.
Yeah, about 200. And we had an opportunity to work with a lot of enterprises. We worked with Cadbury's, we worked with Walmart, we worked with Pepsi, all these brands, helped them get into Web3. Because back in like between 2017 to 2021, it was enterprises that were looking at blockchain. And you had this, blockchain was the new tech, right? Everyone wanted to get it, everyone wanted to use that. So we've worked with a lot of these enterprises. And then also we've worked with a lot of protocols in this space as well. That kind of like taught us more about this industry. And we've always wanted to do something which is consumer focused, which is out there as a project, right? We've been an R&D company, and that's how the contribution to OpenLedger started. And it was about last year that we started this. And it's been amazing. We've been building the product. We always want to do something around data. Initially started more as a decentralized database, and kind of evolved that more towards AI, because AI needed data, right? So we could have just focused on the decentralized database side, but it sort of would be this ghost protocol. Like, and everyone will say, we'll work with you, we will use you, but it'll not like really create an impact. But AI is not like that, right? AI needs data. How can we provide better data for agents, and AI services is what we wanted to solve. And that's how OpenLedger happened. It's been great because people have come to an understanding that something like this is needed in order to make the agents better than being a meme. You need to provide the infrastructure for that. You need to provide the intelligence to these agents. I always think agents to be like humans, right? We use our brain to operate. For an agent, it's usually a model, which is the brain, which directs it to do what it does. Most of the time, the models that I use are very generic, right? It could be an OpenAI model or a Llama model. All these are generic models that are trained on like internet data, which is fine to get like a context, which is fine to tweet and stuff like that. But if you actually want to operate and execute certain tasks, like let's say like a DeFi agent, which can basically go and do some trades for you or execute any kind of on-chain activity, then you would need a model that is built for that, right? That is trained for that. It's a simple understanding that everyone knows, right? Technology is usually, when it comes out, it's generic. That's how large language models are. They're very generic. What we do is that we let people customize these large language models, basically tailor it for their need, specialize it for the purpose they want to use it for, and build like specialized AI models on top of us, and have that used by these agents. This is already happening in the traditional space. That's really what kind of transitioned the AI space over the last 2 years. If you take a look at it, right, most of the agents that you see today initially were ChatGPT wrappers. Like Perplexity was a ChatGPT wrapper. It will just ask you and answer you the same questions as OpenAI. It's not very relevant initially. And then they started using multiple models. They've experimented building their own models. Then they went ahead and started using multiple specialized models. So if you ask like a math question, it'll understand your question using OpenAI's model, and then probably route it to a math model like Phi, and then answer your question much better. So it's all about using the right tools to get the consumer what he needs. That's what we enable as well. You can build better models, better tools to make your agents much better using OpenLedger.
You talked about many things.
Yeah. Yeah, I started from who I am to what we do and how I'm going to change the world.
So let's break down everything. You told me the other day that your dad inspired you to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Why?
It's a long story, but to just give you a brief, I think my dad, when he was an entrepreneur, was quite successful, and then similar to the crashes that happens in the crypto industry, he was more on the hardware side, and there was a huge crash that happened at that time. Like people are not really focused towards hardware, and he was not doing really well after a certain point of time, right? But I knew that my dad is a great person. Obviously, everyone loves their dad, but I knew that he's a great entrepreneur. I couldn't see him fail as an entrepreneur. That really hurt me. I wanted to somehow be someone who can be an entrepreneur and showcase to the world that I could do something good. I could do something to change people's life. So that's always been one of the biggest pushes for me. Something that keeps me driving every day. So so that's a very personal story. I don't share that to many people, but so he's been one of the biggest inspiration. I think for everyone, our parents have been the biggest inspirations. I think they change how we see the world. They make us who we are. And for me, it was my dad. And hopefully I make him proud one day.
You think he's not proud yet? You say, hopefully I make him proud one day.
I don't know.
Hopefully he watches this podcast and then he tells you, I'm very proud of you, son. You told me also that what makes a good entrepreneur is having gone through some tough moments.
Yeah.
I mean, we all go through some tough moments. What's one of these tough moments that you've experienced that made entrepreneurship look like it's not that hard in the grand scheme of things? Like give you some perspective on like, this is a hard moment in entrepreneurship, but I've been through other things that this is nothing compared what's happening now to me compared to what happened then.
Yeah, actually, if we take a look at it, right, generally across the globe, people have gone through so many hardships in life. We see that every day. We've seen the wars that happened all these years. So I don't think what we face is such a big deal. After all, we are all doing this to create a small impact using tech and also getting benefited out of that. So I wouldn't say this is like really, really hard. There are people who are doing much harder stuff. People are doing much more novel, aspects. That doesn't mean that we don't know novel aspects, but just that it's, they go through much harder stuff. But entrepreneurship, I think we've all had our bad days and good days, and especially in crypto, that changes almost every other day, right? Everyone loses the shit when Trump token kind of like went to almost like zero, and then everyone gets happy when Trump talks about crypto being the biggest priority for America. So when you're being in crypto, I think you all constantly see this volatility, and especially I've seen this from 2017, right? Like it was much crazier before. Like it was always like 0-1. Like when in 2017 when Bitcoin was hitting like almost $20,000, everyone was like mad about crypto, right? There were ICOs being launched, there were projects that were coming out and stuff. And then the crash happened. It was a desert. No one was there, right? And it was much worse than what it is now. And everyone kind of like flocked back during 2021. So it is a quite interesting space to be in. It's quite stressful space to be in. But I think people go through much more harder stuff in life than what we do. So it's fine.
It's very market dependent, crypto.
It's very, very market
There's
dependent.
huge highs, huge lows.
Yes.
It's very intense. You told me like it helps you mature a lot.
Yes.
Why?
I think. So one thing is that, that kind of you first, when you get into crypto, you start seeing things much more short-sighted. Because you're always watching the market, you're always seeing, okay, the market is good today, the market is bad today, what should I change my project in a way that it depends on the market and stuff. But after a point of time, you kind of realize that's not the way you have to see things. You should see much more long-term, right? Whatever happens, if you know what you're doing, if you believe in that, if you know that it's going to create an impact, then you see it as a long-term. That's what people get matured for, right? If you talk to entrepreneurs who've been successful, they never worry about the market. They never worry about the fluctuation. They take a look at what can be achieved on a long-term basis. And all the great projects out there, anything that has been done really well, have gone through this and have survived over the last 5-6 years, right? People who always see the market are the ones who are like fluff, and they die out probably in like 1 or 2 cycles. I guess that's what you get learned. Like if you are in it for a long term, if you want to win, and if you want to make sure that you build a great product, you start to learn that. You start to see that. And for us, fortunately or unfortunately, we've been in the industry for a long time. So we've seen that, we've learned that. And that really helps in terms of looking at a larger picture. And OpenLedger is not the first thing that we're doing in crypto, right? So that really helps. That sometimes gives us a much larger perspective.
Yeah, that's why we're talking about that today too, right? I always want to go look back and see what you've done before. And one of the things you told me was the team went through 2 cycles.
Yeah.
We got rich, we got broke.
Yeah.
Multiple times. Yeah. What's the single most important thing you've learned so far in your crypto entrepreneur journey through this kind of crazy high and lows?
Perseverance, right, is very much needed. Like I think you've also gone through this, right? I'm sure that you would have. Probably,
we're still here. We love the pain.
Yeah,
that's why we're still here.
You would have probably invested into many projects.
I was a big time. Luna holder. I had like a lot of money in Luna.
So you've gone through much more pain than me.
I had Dokun on the podcast. Like I was completely overexposed to Luna, and I got completely wrecked in 2 days, 3 years ago, 2 years and a half ago.
So
Happens.
everyone has gone through this. Anyone who's been in the industry for long knows this. But I think perseverance really matters. If you have a drive, a very strong drive, that you want to do something big, from your perspective, right? Big is very varied, it's very relative. But if you want to do something that you're going to be happy with, that you're going to look back and say that I did something well, and I'm happy about that. So as long as you have that perseverance, as long as you know that you're going to work towards that, it'll work out fine. And it's as you told rightly, it's very much needed in crypto, with all the highs and lows that are there. Yeah. And the good and bad thing about crypto is that it's very market dependent, as you all know. It's very Bitcoin dependent. We always look to the North Star. So the good thing about that is there's a lot of liquidity. There's a lot of money movement that happens. More people come in. There's very less gatekeeping. Innovations can happen. The negative aspect of that is that that also kills a lot of projects very quickly, right? So the shift is quite huge. So it's all about how you kind of handle this, how you want to take this. But you get to learn that, right? People get to learn that. After a point of time, they get to realize what needs to be done to stay in for a longer time. We've learned that obviously the harder way, right? We've made money, we've lost money a lot. We've made the money again back. So it kind of taught us how to stay in strong for a longer time and how to like be sustainable. So market teaches you the hard way, but it's good.
You mentioned this company before, this first company that you built from 10 to 200 employees within a couple of years.
Yeah.
It was profitable company, but you mentioned multiple times before the impact, right? The importance of impact.
Yeah.
We didn't have real impact. Can you explain this to someone who is not a true bred entrepreneur and who would be happy with having built a linear, profitable business?
Yeah.
Like, why would you leave a profitable business because it doesn't have enough impact?
Okay, so like after a point of time, money is just money, right? You wanna create an impact, like what big you can do. I can get a bigger car. I can stay in a bigger hotel. I can have a bigger home. It's okay. It's only so much you can do about it, right? But are we creating an impact that is making you happy while you go back to sleep every day, right? So like for me, it's always been how can we, bring in fairness to people, right? The concept of fairness is something that I've always liked. That's one thing that always drew me towards crypto. crypto is always fair, right? It gives opportunity to everyone. We don't see that in traditional space. It's always very capitalistic in the traditional space. Crypto has not been that, and I've always liked that, right? How can we bring in fairness to the people who are contributing to a project? How can we use fairness to help innovate, help bootstrapping? We couldn't do that while we were running an R&D company, right? We could not enable that to happen. That's one thing that we are very excited about what we're doing right now. We could enable people to go ahead and, bring in data sets that they'll have and contribute that, knowing that someone would use this and build a product around that, knowing that they're going to get benefited for that. It's fair compared to what most of the AI companies do, right? They go ahead and get your data, probably never pay you back because they're going to scrape your data. Or if they pay you also, it's like a one-time payment, right? You're not going to get constantly benefited of that. So that's something that we like about what you do. Bring in fairness for the people who own something. And if they own something and I'm going to use that to get benefited, I want to make sure that they get equally benefited as well, right? So that fairness, I think, is important. We want to make sure that is achieved. That is what really drives me. Even if I'm not doing what I'm doing right now, I'll probably end up doing another one, which is going to bring in fairness to people, right? So that's what I like about crypto, as I told you, right? It helps you build a platform that gets fairness for everyone. And in OpenLedger, it comes back to a very simple thing. AI is going to change the way we see our lives every day. AI is going to create an impact in almost every sector that we deal with. And that intelligence has to be fair. Everyone needs to own a piece of that. How can I make better models, better intelligence be available for agents? And if I'm going to do that, how am I going to benefit everyone who's going to be part of this particular motion, right? How can I go ahead and reward all the participants? So that the protocol is designed that way. It attributes back to the people who contributed for this intelligence to happen. We want to make sure that is brought into the protocol, and collectively we can bring in something big. Collectively, we can do something good, and that's what we work for. It's I think a lot of people talk about this infinite sum games, right? So it's always better together. And if you want to bring in some kind of AI revolution, if you want to fight against the centralized AI companies, then you need to build something together. You need to bring in all your resources together. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that model as an intelligence is available to everyone. It's bootstrap, and anyone who helps building this bootstrap models get benefited as part of the process.
You're building a company called OpenLedger. Okay, this is your way of having a real impact out there. But it's not that easy to understand for the average Joe and Jane.
Yeah.
So to understand OpenLedger, we need to understand AI, crypto, and data. Let's take them one by one.
Yeah.
You said before, this AI thing is big, right? You're super excited about AI. You told me the other day, AI is the next big thing after automobile and internet.
Yeah.
Why?
So if you take a look at it, right, every other revolution that happened, like in automobile, if you take a look at it, because of transport, we could have goods moved from one place to another much faster, much quicker than what it was before that, right? So that created a large impact in terms of the industrial growth. And if you go much more forward, internet kind of also did that, right? It connected people across the globe much more quicker than what the industrial era did. And in AI, it's obviously going to have much more bigger impact than that, because it's going to 100x all the innovations that we've done till now. So in this particular sector, the growth we've always seen has always helped humans kind of move forward. We've always helped human kind of use sort of a tool to help us perform better, right? Internet has always helped us be much better than who we are as a person in terms of gaining knowledge. Internet also evolved more like mobile. Mobile, I think, is is one of the best example of an exocortex. It is like a rented brain that we have. If I take your mobile out of your hand, you would not be able to operate, right? So AI is much more bigger than that. It's gonna create much more bigger impact for humans. It's gonna make them much more smarter than who we are currently. And in this revolution as it goes, if you want AI to create a good impact, like how we contributed content to the internet, to the web, because of the enriched content that is there, we are able to gain knowledge. AI needs data as well. If you want to make AI much more enriched, we need to make sure that we can contribute enough data to AI so that we can make it work for the way we want. Like if we take a look at most of the models today, right, how all AI is built, it's trained on data that is already available on the internet, because that's readily available. Any company can go ahead and scrape that and build a model around that. But the real knowledge is with the people. The real knowledge is with the people who build enterprises, firms, and companies and all that. How can we enable people to contribute that? How can we enrich AI with that data? That's what we're working towards. If you want like real impact to be created, you need to start looking at that particular place. You need to start looking at the data that is available there.
Why do you say that AI is way bigger than the internet?
Like internet.
Try to explain that to someone who is understood the internet,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But AI for a lot of people, it's still, oh cool, I can use ChatGPT. It's amazing, right? But it's probably going way, way further than that.
Yeah, so if you take a look at internet, right, internet is more of connecting people. It provided the rails for me to reach out to you. It provided the rails for me to consume something as an information. But AI is much more than that. It kind of provides me to think better, to process things much better than what it was today. Like internet kind of is more on a consumer angle. AI is more consumers and much more enriching as well, right? If I ask a question to ChatGPT, it's going to give me information, but it's also going to help me make decisions as well, right? Internet did not help you do that. So think of that. Think of AI to be another being that's going to help you become much more better than who you are, provide you intelligence to perform much better than what you've done before. So that's why AI is much bigger, right?
I think you have some numbers on like IQ increase,
Yeah.
average IQ increase thanks to AI.
Yeah. So if you take a look at it, right, I think that we've heard like few people talk about this. The average IQ can go at least like 10x more than what it is currently, and it could reach the places where internet even like couldn't really help people, right? Like places in Africa and places in other places where schooling has been really tough because you don't have the right resources for that. AI could be much more helpful over there. AI could, like one particular device could probably teach students much better than what an average teacher could do, right? So I think the intelligence that AI can bring in to humanity is massive, and that kind of like collectively brings much more bigger changes. Like it's sort of like adding much more fuel, high energy fuel, to the current growth that is already there. How can we kind of like provide much more tools, better tools to like speed rocket the current revolution that is happening? I think that's what is AI, right? It starts with right now we're at a very smaller stage where it is just a bot. I ask questions and it answers me, and then it's kind of evolved to me, probably like integrate into a service and makes my service much better. But then it's going to be much more bigger. Like take a look at what happened with Tesla, right? It is initially sort of like it just helps you drive better. It's going to make sure that you are in a lane, and then it helped you go in freeway much easier, and then now it takes you from a place A to B, right? And I don't have to even worry about knowing that whether I'm going to drive it correctly. I don't have to even look at the road technically. So what if this is applied in every other sector that we interact with? So I think that really boosts productivity. That just increases opportunities much more bigger than what happened in the last few years. So I think we're all excited. It's just that it's going to be much faster than we think it's going to be. We've always seen this, right? Industrial revolution took about 250 years. It's still creating gaining its traction and creating impact across the globe. Internet maybe took about 20 years. I think AI is going to be much faster than that.
How big of a thing is crypto compared to AI?
Crypto has always been a technology that is supporting to the existing revolutions, so to say, right? If you take a look at finance, crypto made sure that finance is fair, right? That everyone gets an equal opportunity. Everyone gets to have a banking system. Everyone is able to access money, right? So that's what crypto enabled in finance. That's a very good example of how we can democratize using crypto. I think that's what it's going to do for AI itself. Even in AI, if you take a look at the compute revolution that happened, crypto kind of democratized that, made sure that compute costs are much lower compared to the centralized ecosystems that are there. So I'm sure that that's going to be there across other sectors of AI. If you take a look at data, right? One of the biggest needs of AI, as we've been speaking till now, is data, right? You need as much as data to make your AI much smarter. How can we bootstrap data, right? Is one of the most integral parts of making sure that we have AI for everyone. Crypto will enable that. We are one of the firms which are working on. There are many firms as well. How can we bootstrap data to make sure that people can use data to have better intelligence, better models? So crypto is always an enabler to the other technologies. I think it's going to be the same for AI as well. To just make AI much more fairer, much more democratized, I think crypto is very much needed.
So crypto brings fairness to AI.
Yeah.
What is OpenLedger, if you had to explain it to your mom?
It's always, I think I've been always working on this, right? Because when you're building as an entrepreneur, you try to see the product from your perspective, and then you kind of zoom out and see it from your peers, who are again technologists, and then you kind of zoom out again and try to see it from the consumer angle, or how would my mom see this, right? So if I would want to explain to my mom, here's what it is, right? Would someone use a butter knife to cut a steak, right? No, right? So you would need to have something tailored and customized for yourself if you need to solve a problem efficiently. So a generic model, a generic AI that's built is always not capable to solve specialized problems. OpenLedger lets you create specialized AI models that can enable people to solve the problems that are specialized for a particular need.
So what's the steak? What's the knife?
What's the steak?
If you had to explain to your mom, yeah.
So the steak is the actual conception, actual AI, and the knife is the model or the data, and the model and the data that's being built together. So you need to have the right model to get the right output out of the AI. So that's what OpenLedger does. We provide you the tools that are necessary to build a model which is efficient, which is specialized to do a particular task very well, compared to a generic model which is very generalized and is usually used for very general purposes.
And on the top of that, you're rewarding the people who are bringing the knives, who are bringing the right knives, provided that those knives are being used.
So basically, we are rewarding the people who can enable this knife to be made, right? So there are obviously a lot of raw materials that goes into building the model, the tool, which is data, which is specialized versions of the data. And there are people who provide their knowledge, the people who provide their feedback, people who provide the data itself, which leads on to build the model, which is the knife, which is the tool. We want to make sure that anyone who is part of this process to contribute in the supply chain gets benefit out of that.
Provided that the steak is being eaten.
Yes.
Provided that someone is using what's being built,
model,
right?
Yes. Yes. Again, there's always the distribution, right?
Yeah.
It's a chicken and egg situation. Like I always compare this to like YouTube. When YouTube was monetized, people knew that, okay, if they provide better content to YouTube, they're going to get paid for it. Firms, businesses knew that if they contribute their proprietary content to YouTube, they can monetize it. So if you bring in an incentive factor, that will drive people to provide their own proprietary information, knowing that they're going to get benefited. That will also enable distribution to happen because you have better content, better data, which leads you to better output, better models, which will lead more, usage of these models.
This is the YouTube model, kind of like easier to understand for people who are not in crypto. In crypto, we have Kaito, right?
Yeah.
Which you're very familiar with, obviously. Yes. That is doing that, or at least an attempt at doing that.
Yeah. So Kaito again is incentivizing people to provide better content, right? That is why we've seen crypto Twitter so active in the last few months, because there has been people contributing content. They know that they're going to get rewarded, but the reward is never constructive, right? It's not through a platform. I think Kaito kind of brought it all together. It built a platform where content creators can contribute and they can be recognized for that. And as they are being recognized, they're getting rewarded for that as well. So very similarly, what we want to do is basically have data contributors contribute data and build models as an output of that, and have these models recognized using our platform and being used. And as they get used, the data contributors and anyone else who's been part of the process get benefited for that.
So to simplify everything, we could say that OpenLedger is a sort of YouTube or Kaito for AI models.
Yes. It will probably be, if you take like Kaito or YouTube, all of these are platforms. All of these are orchestration platforms that brings people together to get benefited for that. OpenLedger is that orchestration platform that brings all of them together and gets them benefited for the output that came out.
What's the current problem with AI models that don't use crypto?
The current problem with AI models is, like as we've spoken, is that it's very generalized. It's not a problem right now, but it's going to be immediate problem soon. And we've seen very initial, traces of that. If you take a look at the agents that were built out of the current models that is there, they've been like stupid, right? They're not like really good. Most of it has been memeish. If you want these agents to be better, you have better intelligence, then you need to provide the models that will give them that intelligence.
So the logic here is, it's less thinking, look, this OpenAI or all these like centralized kind of closed models are keeping everything for themselves and it's wrong. It's more, hey, if you want more granularity in the data and smarter agents, right, or smarter AI, you have to incentivize people.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have more models, so you need more data.
Yeah.
And so the only way you can get this kind of going and like thriving is by having more people involved. And the only way to have more people involved is by rewarding them.
Yeah. So I don't think we need to go into the fight that centralized companies are building these models which are centralized. They have their own needs and stuff like that. It's a game that is no point in playing. Obviously, centralized companies have raised a lot of money. They're going to still be doing what they're doing. I think we need to take a look at crypto for much better needs, immediate problems that needs to be solved. And that's what we are trying to do. How can we make these models much better? How can we make these models useful for what we want to achieve? And how can we use crypto for that? How can we benefit everyone who is contributing for this to happen as part of the process?
So why do these big AI companies not use crypto?
Interesting. It comes down to what's their needs and also exposure, right? Usually, centralized companies have a capitalist mindset because obviously they're building it for the profit, and they want to make sure that the company gets benefited, right? They get paid for, because there are people working there. There's a board, there are investors, and all that. In crypto, it kind of works the other way. Obviously, everyone who's involved in the process want to get paid. It could be the team, it could be the investors. All of them want to make money, but naturally, you want the community to also get benefit out of this, because there is a token angle, right? You are going much quicker in terms of going public compared to a centralized company. So you want to make sure that this is a community initiative, not sort of like a single person initiative. And that's where the fairness comes in, right? It's better together. It's always better to have people contribute something for making a large impact. And for a project like OpenLedger, like, you need to have the community support. You need to have people encouraged to contribute data set. You need to make sure that they feel kind of part of this overall program, knowing that if they contribute something, they're going to get paid. And if this becomes big, the contribution is much more valuable than they initially gave, right? So that momentum, that thesis is what kind of like shows the difference between like a centralized and decentralized company. It's like how to tackle a problem 2 different ways, right? You could do the centralized way. You could have something like YouTube where you make revenue first, and then you decide who gets benefit out of that, and you show your terms, and people follow your rules, knowing that, okay, I need to follow YouTube because this is where I'm going to get paid. This is where they have, this is where I can find distribution. But there is the other way where you kind of go much more inclusive. You bring in people together, have them involved, and make sure that they also get benefited as part of the process. It's the way you see it. A country could be democratic, a company could be capitalist. So
exactly,
it's the way you see it. How you want to
run. That's the main point, I think, which I didn't understand before. But there is a word, or in our world, we have these centralized AI companies, closed models, and it's a world where both coexist.
Yes.
Decentralized. It's not like decentralized is so much better that it's going to take over at some point, and it's more like for specific problems, you need that kind of decentralized AI models. For the other, which have advantages and inconvenience, right?
Yes.
Positive and negative. And then for other things, these centralized models are completely fine.
Completely fine, yeah.
And that's it, right?
I think decentralization is not always needed everywhere. It needs to be used wherever it's needed. We should not have a sort of like a very large thesis that everything needs to be decentralized. If everything is decentralized, it's not going to operate the way we want. It's not going to have an order. So we need to use decentralization wherever it's needed.
Do you have an example where an OpenLedger model is much better than ChatGPT model?
Yeah, so we had this team which is building a Move model on top of us, which is based on the Move programming language. It's a very new programming language. Few of these protocols in Web3 are using them. It's not very popular. It's getting to that stage. So a model like Cursor, which is known for building co-pilots that enable programming to be easier using English. You can just basically give your intents and it's going to give you code. Cursor doesn't understand Move, right? It could, but it's not an expert in Move. So what we did is that the team that was building this Move model had an internal benchmark test which compared this model that was built specialized for Move on top of OpenLedger, benchmarked it with the Cursor model, and this is much, much more superior than the base Cursor model that is there.
So to continue my like what's an example in that case? Move. What are they trying to build?
Yeah, so
that can be built only with this kind of new language.
Yeah, so
something tangible and concrete for people who are listening or watching to understand. I understand. Like I have a concrete example.
Yeah. So if you take a look at the Move model, right? It's sort of like a layer beneath these agents. As I told you before, models are like brains to an agent. It's going to direct an agent to do a task in a certain way. So this Move model can enable a co-pilot agent, an agent that can basically help programmers program better, much easier, right? If I use a cursor model, which is a generic model, which helps you in programming, it would not understand move-based requirements. It will not be very efficient as this move model. So this is going to enable you to build better copilots, better agents for move, an agent that can help you, audit a move code, an agent that can help you program and move better, an agent that can analyze your flaws in your code much better than a cursor model can do, right? So it just provides you better tools, better infrastructure to build better agents compared to the generic model that is there.
And this move language is not something that could be implemented on a centralized.
It's not like it cannot be implemented on a centralized. Anyone can go ahead and take a Llama model, bring in their own data sets, and build a move model out of that, and have it centralized, have it not involve anyone as part of the process, bring their own data set and build it. What we're doing is in a decentralized way so that it can actually happen, right? If I expect myself to bring in all the data sets and contribute and do something, it's going to take much larger time. It's not going to be very efficient. I need crowdsourcing. I need data from large number of people. And if you're going to get data from large number of people, you should be benefiting them as well. And that's why it is decentralized, so the contribution is decentralized.
So it's basically this move programming language could be completely used on an OpenAI or whatever, but it's just not a priority for them. It might not be before years.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
If I had to remember one single thing from our conversation that I should take to the dinner table tonight with my family, what would that be?
AI is happening, no matter what. We need to have the right tools to be ready for that, to make it much more efficient the way you want. And as we build that, we have to be fair to reward the people who are part of the process. I think that's the biggest takeaway. We need to be fair in every revolution that happened. Unfortunately, that was not the case in terms of the industrial revolution. Internet was supposed to be that. Crypto kind of changed that. It turned out to be fair. It turned out to enable people to be fair. AI, again, is one of the biggest revolutions. We need to figure out ways where we can have AI to be fair and to be rewarding the people who benefited that. And OpenLedger is one project that is doing that. It's benefiting the people who are building better AI, specialized AI that can enable better agents, purpose-driven agents, and specialized agents.
Thank you so much, Ram, for doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Despite being a very technical person, helping us simplify everything, talking about knives, steaks.
I hope I did.
I think it's much simpler because it's also much more clear for me. So if it's much more clear for me, which is why I wanted to take this approach of like step by step, so we get to something that's like digestible by I would say more and more normal people.
Yeah, I'm glad I had this conversation with you. It's a very person-to-person kind of conversation. Anyone could hopefully relate to this, and I'm glad this happened. Yeah,
amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.